laziness, procrastination, anxiety. It all comes from overconsumption, whether it be overconsumption of food, opinions of others, or your own thoughts. What if you were to consume less? What would that be like? What would that look like? How would you nourish yourself? What would you listen to? What would you read? What would you allow yourself to view on social media? Think about it. How would things change for you? Welcome to the Permission Slip podcast, where I, empowerment coach, mindset expert, and holistic nutritionist Carmen share with you the tools, conversations, and resources you need to write your own permission slip, take massive action, and become obsessed with your own life. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast. And this week is part 3 of our 3-part series about trusting yourself and building self-confidence. So if you missed part 1 and 2, you want to go back to episode 97 and 98. 97 was all about this idea of trusting your first thought, being curious, just noticing when you were second guessing yourself and seeing how many times you could trust your first thought, and then collect evidence that that works and you intuitively know the right answer. And then in part 2, we talked about relying on a strength that is much greater than your own. And I gave you a prayer anytime you get knocked out of alignment, and also a way to start your day with a little journaling and meditation, and something very, very specific to, again, get curious and start noticing and collect evidence in your life. So now we are on to part 3. And I would have to say that they're all my favorite. I always say things are my favorite. This is one of the most effective tools, self-awareness tools that I use if I start feeling overwhelmed, lack of motivation, if I get that rushed, anxious feeling, if I just want to sit and be lazy. Granted, there are times when rest is important and maybe I've pushed myself too much, and so I need to double down on resting, and listening to your body is important. But there's other times when you just you want to reach for numbing out because you just don't want to think anymore. Those are the times when I've noticed I've been consuming too much. Think about it. Society has taught us that we want it and we want it now, and we want to consume it as convenient and quickly as we can. Now, I'm not just talking about food, but I'm talking about everything. We want the business success right now. We want the weight loss right now. And if whatever that goal is that we're going towards, we're going to consume all the information about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to ask people for advice that actually have never even done it before, just further clogging up our brains. Think about it. Laziness, procrastination, and anxiety comes from an overconsumption of food, other people's opinions, or thoughts. You know, those thoughts, the overanalyzing thoughts. So if we want to get out of that and get back into trusting ourselves, we should consume less. There's a quote by Alfred Marshall, and it says, "Consumption may be regarded as negative production." It's one thing to learn, but most of the time we're consuming and we're getting the knowledge, but we're not turning it into wisdom. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. And so the only thing it's doing is clouding our own inner knowing, clouding our own trust in ourselves, because we're just putting so much in all the time, we can't even hear what we already know. We don't give ourselves an opportunity to apply what we've learned and try it out and see if it works for us. We just think that, fear of missing out. There's going to be something better. That person is doing it. I should try it. And we can do it all, just not all at the same time. Be patient. Give yourself some time. So here's what I want you to take away from this week. First of all, I want you to take a day or two, and I want you to notice all the things that you're consuming. Even if it's listening to music or the radio when you're driving the car, having background noise on when you're working or when you're cooking, noticing when you can't sit in silence. Because guess what? When you're in silence, that's when you can hear. That's when you can hear your own inner knowing. When you go for a walk to enjoy nature, do you think you have to listen to a podcast on how to get better? Why not just be in nature? Listen to the birds, look up. Instead of trying to double duty while you're getting a workout in, why not listen to some jams? Or why not just be so focused on your workout that you don't need anything at all? You see, we grow attached to things, and then we just want more and more and more. But what if it wasn't about having more, but having less? In a way, it's just like more, more of the right things and less of everything else. What if you didn't look at social media all the time? What if you turned off all the notifications on your phone except for your text messages? That's what I have. Sometimes there will be days when I realize that someone sent me a Facebook Messenger message because I don't check that very often. What if you didn't allow your email notifications to pop up every 2 seconds and then jump over to your email list, read the email, not do anything with it, and then get distracted by an ad email and go down that train, put something in your cart but not buy it? And then what have you done? You try to go back to your project and then you're knocked out of alignment. So you have to get back into alignment, still thinking about, later I'm going to go back and answer that email and buy that thing that's in my cart. And it just builds on your to-do list. But what if you just finished that task to completion, didn't have any of those notifications on, and had the time to read and respond to the email right away? I say you set aside time for your email. You get in there, you read the email, and you do something with it right away. Delete it, respond to it. Maybe you need to save it in a file, or maybe you need to forward it to someone else and ask for help. That's how you stick with the cleaning box. But that's the email box, but that's besides the point. So I want you to notice what and how much you're consuming. So on your cell phone, I'm going to look right now because I sort of forget. I had talked about this before on another podcast, but in the settings, you can go into screen time. And so if you look at your screen time, you can see which apps you're using the most. So like when I look at mine, it tells me my daily average screen time, which seems really high, by the way, 5 hours, 9 minutes. And in this order, Instagram, Safari, text messages, email, Facebook, the Bible app, YouTube TV, and then Asana, project management. And it tells you also, so this is in the settings on iPhones under screen time. It also tells you your average daily pickups, like how many times you picked up your phone, which most likely means if you're picking it up, you're accessing something on your phone. So 106, that's a lot. And when I talked about this before, I had set a goal. I can't even remember what it was, but it was really low. And so 106 is really high. So what if you used this information as feedback? Again, no judgment, even though I've talked about this before. This would be a way to track how you're doing. So are you picking up your phone less? Is your screen time down? The other thing that you can track on consuming less is how you're feeling. Because ultimately, when you get on social media, you might feel good at first, but if you're on there for much longer than just a little bit, it will 100% decrease your energy and decrease your confidence, even if you're not actively thinking in your brain that it's doing that. Because we're so used to being in the comparison and judgment and I am not good enough track. And it just degrades our self-trust and our self-confidence. So what can you do with this newfound freedom? What if you read a book for pleasure? What if you started a new meditation or breathwork practice? What if you started a new journaling practice? What if you had more deep, intentional, meaningful conversations with your friends and family, undistracted from phones and television? What if you got in nature more and just listened? What if you just laid down for 20 minutes and rested? You're going to start feeling so much better, but it first starts with awareness of how much you are consuming. I mean, think about it. We are a consumer society. Advertising is coming at us all day long. And not only does it make us feel like crap, but it makes us feel like we need to buy something in order to be enough or to be accepted, to be safe, to fit in. That's what advertising is for most all products today. Because a good advertiser or marketer will make you feel something. That's why you buy. Not because it has the best color, the best features, not because of how it works, but because you feel something when you see it or experience it. So that's it. This is the end of this 3-part series. And I hope that you truly, truly enjoyed this series because I tell you what, like self-confidence and self-trust is so huge. That's like the final stepping stone in order to really step into your highest self possible, to be successful with your health, your personal relationships, your business, career, your wealth, your finances, and more. And so try out these 3 practices from week 1, 2, and 3. Try them out, get curious, become self-aware, and then take action. Start consuming less, start asking for guidance more, start trusting yourself in your first thought more often, and collecting the evidence that it's all working. Because guess what? You should really be trusting yourself. You know more than you think you do. And that's where I'll end it. But I'd love to hear from you. So take a screenshot, tag me your biggest takeaway out of this series on Instagram so I can reshare and repost. And if you think that this episode will help somebody else, go ahead and copy the link and just send them a quick text so they could get a little boost in their self-trust and their confidence as well. And I am forever grateful for you listening. And we will talk next week because guess what? It's episode 100 and I have something special planned.